Good afternoon, Night Owls. I'm Brody Jacobson here with your daily afternoon podcast, and I'm joined alongside by Win Gaber today. Win, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
So we're going to start it off with the FAU QB room. Veltkamp was named QB1 yesterday. Win, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that was the right decision by Kelly. I overall think Veltkamp had a better college career to this point. Not saying that Zach Gibson has been bad, but he's just been. I think he's just a little bit older for the FAU offense. I think Veltkamp was the right decision.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that it took this long to name Caden Veltkamp QB1. I mean, Conference Player of the Year last year in a Division I conference. That speaks for itself. But speaking of Zach Gibson in this QB2 room, it's a jam-packed room here for the race for the QB2 position. Zach Gibson is clearly the leader right now, but is there anybody else you have your eye on?
Right now, I have my eye on Caden Weissman. I think he might take over in the QB2 spot because they're both fighting for that spot in the depth chart. Overall, Caden Weissman hasn't been playing great throughout his college career. He did make a couple of starts for FAU last year, but hasn't really excelled. Threw for 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions while having a 53 completion percentage. It just doesn't really cut it. But I think this season, if he just has the motivation, I think he could get to the QB2 spot.
Yeah, right. Kitley's got to find a winner in these backups. I mean, Zach Gibson, he was 0 for 6 last year in his 6 starts at Georgia State. Wiseman was 0 for 2 starting last year at FAU. As soon as Kitley finds a winner, I mean, you can feel pretty comfortable about your QB2 position because Caden Veltkamp, I think he's an awesome sign, much better than Cam Fancher last year for FAU. He really has a high ceiling here for this FAU team. So now let's move it on to a preview of their week 1 matchup against the Maryland Terrapins. And this is a Maryland team that last year went 4-8. It was a pretty down year for Mike Loxley's squad. The years before, Maryland was somewhat of a power in the Big Ten. They were on the upper half last year. They just weren't. They have a pretty new roster. 2 of their top offensive weapons in Billy Edwards. He left for Wisconsin, their quarterback last year, and their star wide receiver, all Big Ten, Ty Felton. He left for the draft. When you look at this Maryland team, what are you looking at here, Win?
Right now, I'm looking at their defense. They're pretty injury prone on the offensive side, which brings them to the defense. The defense must be good for them this season. Maryland hasn't quite yet found their QB1 for this, so I'm just not sure how they're going to decide or when they're going to decide because it's between Malik Washington and Justin Martin. Martin, a transfer from UCLA, didn't get much playing time there, so he transferred to come all the way to Maryland, especially with Nico Yamaliava taking his spot. And then you have Malik Washington, who is going to be likely the starter for this Maryland club.
Yeah, and this Maryland team, whoever that week 1 starters has to be ready to go from the jump because this FAU team, yeah, they're going to be underdogs, but they could be competitive against Maryland. We saw them be competitive week 1 against Michigan State last year. Take a look at their offense. They brought back a really good receiver in Octavian Smith. He had 30 catches last year for the squad. But the guy I'm really looking forward to see for this Maryland team that I think can be huge for them, he even has all Big Ten upside, I think. Dorian Fleming, the tight end from Georgia State last year, he had 49 catches and 6 touchdowns. That's great production. And he's going to go straight to tight end 1 here for Maryland.
Yes, and I believe that is a great decision, especially for head coach Mike Loxley, who's entering his 7th year as the Maryland head coach. Hasn't been the greatest head coach. But overall, I mean, I don't think he's on the hot seat that much. He's been driving the Terrapins to great winning seasons throughout the last couple of years. I think this could be a very good season for the Terrapins in many ways.
Yeah, right. This Maryland team, they have 3 pretty much cakewalks to start off their year before they head into Big Ten play. And another guy they brought in that I thought was really interesting was somebody on their offensive line, Central Connecticut State transfer, Rotrell Perry. People think he can be all Big Ten. I mean, he's not the biggest of guys. He's still huge. He's 6'5", 300. He's not that big, though, when you're talking about a Big Ten offensive lineman. But, I mean, you look at this Maryland team, another guy we didn't even touch on was Jaleel Farouk. He was huge at Oklahoma, 5th year. They have a lot of veterans on this squad. But you talked about Mike Loxley in the hot seat. Realistically, like, this Maryland team, they have to start off 3-0. If they lose to FAU week 1, Loxley is definitely on the hot seat, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think that Loxley is obviously he might be already on the hot seat with last year's season. I think that Maryland overall everybody they want to win. Mike Loxley might not be the person to give you a bunch of wins, and that's just my personal take. That could be a difference compared to the athletic department there at Maryland.
Yeah, right. But we also have to remember that Loxley, he did bring this Maryland program to places they hadn't really been in the last 10 years when he came into the program with all those winning seasons. But this week 1 matchup for FAU, it's really going to tell a lot about how good the team is, because when you're playing a Power 4 team, let alone a team like Maryland, we're going to learn a lot from this FAU team. And when we're talking about this FAU team, let's move over to the defense here on the FAU defense, and let's start off with the defensive line. What are you seeing on the defensive line here, Win?
I'm looking at one guy who's named to the freaks list this season, Bryce Langston. He could be a beast this season for Florida Atlantic. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that can be freaks for Florida Atlantic this year, like CJ Doggett. I think he'll be easily able to get to the QB this season, especially in week 1, defending against the weak Maryland O line.
Yeah, right. And you talk about Bryce Langston. People think he might be the leader on this defense, returning to the Owls. The one thing I'm really not seeing from this Owls team that might be concerning is the production on their defense. The production from what these guys have done either at their past teams or FAU. There's not a guy who jumps out to you who has all those statistics lined up, which means all these guys have a lot to prove this year.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, going back to the Florida Atlantic defense, we got a couple of key transfers from Power 4, including Tyler Stolsky, a Minnesota starter last year, and then produced Derek Rogers, who will help in the backfield.
Yeah, right. Tyler Skolsky, he was there for Minnesota at times. He didn't get too much playing time, but he can make a big impact on this FAU linebacker room that's got 5 linebackers that are up there that could play a lot. And when you're talking about this linebacker room here, a guy I think is interesting is Charquez Lee. He played the first 4 games for FAU last year and then redshirted the rest of the year. Coaches must think he has some serious potential. He's been good in fall camp as well. I think he's a name to watch this year on the FAA defense.
Yeah, also back with the linebacker room, I also think another name to watch is Leon Hart Jr. I mean, he's honestly, in my opinion, a little bit better and a little bit more advanced than Charquez Lee. I just think that Hart Jr. could be definitely one of the top players on the defense this year.
Yeah, and we talked about the linebackers. Let's move it over to the secondary here with the defensive backs. And when you look at this defensive back room, I mean, obviously there's Wendell Fillard. He had 40 total tackles last year. He's entering his 6th year. He's going to bring a lot of veteran mindset, a lot of mentality, a lot of great things to see for this defensive back room. What are you looking at in these DBs?
I mean, the problem for the backfield is that almost all of these players are old. They're all like redshirt seniors, redshirt graduates, and a bunch of them are transfers, so they haven't had time to really get together. But I mean, in the back, like there's other guys that you could focus on, like Allen or Damon Allen and like Mike Wright the third. Those are both young players in the backfield that could easily be able to boost FAU in upcoming seasons.
Yeah, right. And this defense last year, they were very inconsistent. They shut down some teams. They let up a lot of points against teams. When you look at let's go back to that Maryland game, week 1. This FAU team, they're going to let up points. Like Maryland's offense, they're probably going to be ready to go. They're just bigger, their offense, than our FAU defense is. But when you talk against Maryland, what do you want to see, like in terms of points let up or forced turnovers against Maryland week 1?
From what I want to see the FAU defensive line be able to stop Nolan Ray, the Maryland running back. Nolan Ray is, of course, a great running back in the Power 4. And we just need the FAU defensive line to be able to stop him. I think if the wide receiver spot isn't working, they'll go right to Nolan Ray. If we're able to stop Nolan Ray, honestly, I do think we'll have a chance to be able to beat Maryland in week 1.
Yeah, and you want to stop the running back, of course, because teams can do whatever they want when they get the run game going, play action. Just having a good run game opens everything up. And then when FAU comes into conference, are you more focused on stopping the run here or the pass this season?
Well, it depends who you're playing, really. Most teams in the American Athletic, I would say, are pass heavy, but teams that were playing early in non-conference are more more of a run offense. Like, let's go to Maryland. They're a pro style offense, which means they're going to run and throw. So they're really mixed. But when you look at teams like Tulane, they're going to be all pass, and then you look at teams like Army, who are not playing the season. But teams like Army, since they're also a military school, they run the ball a lot. So it really depends on who you're playing.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what Kitley does with this FAU football team because he's an offensive-minded coach. He ran the air raid extremely well at Western Kentucky. He was a great quarterback coach at Texas Tech. And when you're running an air raid offense, you're just pretty much assuming that your offense is going to put a lot of points in that board, which means the defense doesn't need to be all that good. If you're stopping teams 4 or 5 times a game, you got a turnover here and there, the offense is going to capitalize. And that's what happens in this air raid offense. Now, my question to you is, moving back to the offensive side of the ball with this air raid offense, will Kitley's air raid, do you think, will this succeed in the American Conference?
I think it will succeed in the American Conference. You have some great wide receivers from Easton Messer, Jabari Smith, and Quincy Brown that could easily beat the American secondaries. And I think that the air raid point of view from Kitley will be able to keep going in the American Conference, as the American Conference is more of a running conference.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that because me personally, I love being a fan of teams that are going to score points on the board, quarterbacks that are going to unleash the ball. Kitley's air raid has worked at every team he's been at, and I don't see why this FAU team is going to be any different, which just makes you feel all that more confident in this squad. Going back to the defense, give me 1 or 2 guys that you really think stood out at fall camp.
I think guys that stood out in fall camp, of course, Tyler Stolsky and Wendell Philord. Those 2 guys, I think, are going to be the leaders of the defense this season.
Yeah, and I can totally see that. And there has to be leadership on this defense this year because a lot of old guys, like you said, but at the same time, there's a lot of incoming freshmen that are coming in, and you got to set the standard with this FAU team. Kitley, obviously, he mentioned that he wants to get to a bowl game, and then he said we have to get to bowl games, and then you can start competing for conference championship stuff. But it has to start with veteran leadership instilled in these young freshmen.
Yeah, I mean, overall, we're not the youngest of the teams in the American Athletic. We're a very transfer-heavy school. But if we're able to get better freshmen moving on, as long as we get into bowl games, we'll get better freshmen. Then it'll keep on moving on. It'll be more of a younger team. And then talent just comes from there, and then we'll start winning a bunch more.
And
So I just think that's the way that FAU needs to look at it.
Yeah, and totally, because when a coach leaves or you get a new coach, there's going to be new transfers. Of course, that's just what happens today with the NIL era and the transfer portal era in college football. But we talk about this FAU potential, and there just really is potential to grow on this FAU team. And there's great potential this year for this team to do things that writers aren't really thinking this team can do.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we're old.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for our FAU Night Owls episode. For Brody Jacobson and Win Gaber, we're signing out.